ॐ
ॐ
सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ सहना
ॐ सहना
भवतु
भवतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह
सह
वीर्यं
वीर्यं
करवावहै
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 तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
विद्विषावहै
विद्विषावहै
शान्ति
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्ति
शान्तिः
शान्तिः
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya, good morning.
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya.
So we are on the 40th Karika. I hope you remember. Fourth
Yes.
chapter, Alata Santi Prakanam. So we will chant that. Please unmute yourself. Nastyasad hetu, Nastyasad hetu kamasat.
नास्त्य सद् हेतु
Hetu
कामसत्
kamasat. Nastyasad hetu kamasat.
नास्त्य सत् हेतु कमसत्
Sat asad hetu kam tatha.
सद् असद् हेतु कम सद् तथा
Sat sadhetukam nasti.
सच सद् हेतु कम नास्ति
Sadhetukam asat kutaha.
सत् हेतु कम असत् कुतः.
Okay, everybody needs to chant. Okay, unless you are able to chant this, how will you ever remember the words? So we'll try again. Please unmute yourself and chant. Nastya sadhetukam asat.
नास्त्य
नास्त्य सद्
सत्कमसत्
हेतु कम सत्
नास्त्यसद्धेतुकमसत्
Sad asadhetukam tatha.
सद्
सत्
असद् हेतु
असद्धेतुकं
तथा
तथा
Satcha sadhetukam nasti.
सच्च
सच्च सद् हेतु कम
सत्यसद्धेतुकं
नास्ति
नास्ति
Sadhetukam asat kutaha.
सद्
सद्धेतुकं
हेतु कम असत् कुतः.
कुतः.
Okay. So, a very complicated construction of sentences. The gist is that there is no cause-effect relationship, karya, karana, sambandha, possible between any two things. Because Brahman has not produced a real world. And therefore, between Brahman and Jagat, a karya, karana, sambandha can never be talked about. And this he presents in four ways in this karika. So the first one he says, Asat, Asat Hetukam na asti. So the first Asat refers to the uh, product. And Asat Hetukam means the cause of the product, which is the karma. So Asat Vastu, Asat Hetukam na asti. A non-existent Hetukam, non-existent Asat Hetukam, a non-existent Karanam, Asatna Asti cannot produce a non-existent Karya. So that is the first corollary, that a non-existing cause cannot produce a non-existing product. And that is said by Asat, Asat Hetukam na Asti. The second is Sat, Asat Hetukam Tatha. You can understand a non-existent Karanam cannot produce an existing Karyam also. So the first is a non-existent Karanam cannot produce a non-existent Karyam. The second one is a non-existent Karanam cannot produce an existing Karyam. So these are fairly clear, well accepted ideas. The third one is Sat cha Asat Hetukam Nasti. This is from an existing Karanam, an existing product cannot be born. This is difficult to understand, right? How can you say that an existing cause cannot produce an existing product? Because all our pratyaksham, perception shows what? That existing product comes only from existing cause. What is the Shastric example? The usual one. From existing cause, an existing product comes. What is the usual example used?
Gold ornaments, clay pot.
Gold ornaments, clay
Yeah.
pot. From existing clay, existing pot comes. From existing gold ornament comes. This is the normal perceptual understanding we have. But what is it? What is meant by saying that existing product cannot be born from existing cause? Because Gaudapada has said that the pot and the clay are not different substances. The clay is the substance. The pot is only a form given to that clay for which you give a name. The substance is the same, clay. Similarly, gold is the substance. The necklace is only a form of that substance to which you are given a name. And therefore, gold and necklace are not two different substances. There are no two entities. Between clay and pot, there is only clay. Between gold and necklace, there is only gold. Between gold and bangle, there is only gold. There are no two substances, there are no two entities. How can you talk about a Karana Karya Sambandha? How can you talk about a cause effect relationships? Why? Because any relationship requires at least two entities. Without duality, you cannot talk about Karya Karana Sambandha or any other Sambandha for that matter. And this is the basic principle. Remember that between the clay and the pot, there is, Rupa Bheda, form difference. So there are three types of differences: Kala Bheda, Rupa Bheda, Avastha Bheda, right? So you can have the same substance separated by time. Something earlier, something today. That is Kala Bheda. You can have the same substance separated by form. So one is a lump of clay, one is a pot, the same substance. And you can have the same substance separated by avastha. So kala, rupa, avastha bheda. Avastha is state. So can you think of an example of substance which is got avastha bheda?
Water,
What
vapor,
can I
steam. Can
Water,
I
steam, ice. Okay. Substance is only one. And that is what is stated here when he says that sat, asat, hetukam nasti. No existing karanam can produce any existing karyam because the substance is the same in the karanam and the karyam. What is present in the product has to be there in the cause also. And since there is only one entity, you cannot talk about any sambandha at all. Then there is a fourth one. Sat hetukam asat kutaha. So he says that when from an existing cause, you cannot have a non-existing product. From a non-existent cause, you cannot have a non-existent product. And from a non-existent cause, you cannot have a existent product. When you have said all these things, sat hetukam asat kutaha, how can you say an existing karanam can produce a non-existent karyam? No. So when you put all these four together, you are saying what? A non-existent thing can never be produced. And therefore, Jagat is what? Existing or non-existing? It is mithya, right? It has no real existence of its own because existence belongs to Atma, belongs to Brahman. And therefore, since Jagat is mithya Jagat, that Jagat can never be born. A non-existent thing can never be produced. Then why do we say that Jagat is there, Jagat is born? The process of creation you associate with Brahman because of ignorance only. In the same way that you associate the snake with the rope. What are you ignorant of? Snake or rope?
Rope.
Rope. A very
Rope ignorance.
critical idea that it is always the knowledge of the substratum which is required. If you don't know the rope, then you project a mithya snake onto it. If you don't know that adhishthanam of the jagat, which is Brahman, then you project a mithya jagat onto that Brahman. So what the Ajnani calls as Jagat, the Jnani sees it as Brahman. So there are only different drishtis, points of view. Perception is different. One is Ajnana drishti from the point of view of the Ajnani, and one is Vijnana drishti from the point of view of the Jnani. There is no substance, there is no vastu called the world. The vastu is only Brahman. You have to change your vision based on Shastra. Because perception will never tell you that Jagat is Brahman. Okay. Now let us go to Karika number 41. Please unmute yourself. We will chant. Viparyasadyatha jagrad
विपर्यासाद्यथा
विपर्यासाद् यथा
जाग्रत्
यथा
जाग्रत्
जाग्रत्
achintyan bhutavat sprishet
अचिन्त्यान्
Achintyan
अचिन्त्यान्
भूतवत्
bhutavat
भूतवत्
स्पृशेत्
sprishet.
स्पृशेत्
तथा स्वप्ने विपर्यासादः
तथा
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 स्वप्ने
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 विपर्यासादः
विपर्यासादः
तत्रैव पश्यति
धर्मांस्तत्रैव
धर्मांस्तत्रैव
पश्यति
पश्यति
पश्यति.
धर्मांस्तत्रैव पश्यति
धर्मांस्तत्रैव
धर्मांस्तत्रैव
Traiva
पश्यति
पश्यति
pashyati.
Okay. So our usual thinking is that, when you have Swapna Avastha, when you are dreaming, you see things which are not real. And this you accept because when you wake up, you find that that beautiful car which you saw as yours in the dream, it's not there. So you have been thinking about unreal things. In dream, you saw what was not real. But here Gaudapada says that just as you assume that something in the dream is real and that assumption is a mistake, when you come out of the dream and you're in Jagrata Avastha, you are still committing a mistake by assuming that all you see is real. That is the comparison. What you see in the dream is unreal. That you understand when you wake up. But Shastram tells you that what you see in the waking state is also unreal. Don't make the mistake of thinking that it is real. The only time when you don't make that mistake is Sushupti Avastha. Because Sushupti Avastha, the mind is not available. And in a mind which is not available, mistakes cannot be made. But after waking up, what happens? He continues to commit the same mistake. Therefore, the problem of taking mithya as real, it is there in all the three avasthas. The person never comes to the correct vision at any point of time. So he says, Yatha Jagrat Prashet Achintyan Bhutavat Viparyasat. Just as in Jagrat Avastha, no, we're talking about the Ajnani. Just as in Jagrat Avastha, the Ajnani Achintyan Bhutavat Viparyasa perceives the Mithya Prapancha as though they are Bhutavat. Achintyan Sprashet, that which is not real, he touches. And what happens? Bhutavat Viparyasa, because of the viparyas. Viparyasaha, which are because of the mistake, because of the delusion, he thinks that that dream elephant or the dream tiger is bhutavat, is real. And this is because of error. Similarly, what happens to the jnani? He also perceives the same mithya objects, but he does so with the full knowledge that they are mithya. So in the first line, yatha jagrat sprashet achintya. The ajnani, even in jagrat avastha, whatever he sees, really speaking, it's mithya. But viparyasa, because of viparyasa, bhutavat, he thinks. He thinks it is real. Similarly, the jnani also sees those same mithya objects, but he does so with the knowledge that they are mithya. And what is the advantage? A mithya jagat can never have the capacity to make me miserable. Perceiving the mithya as satyam is the reason why we always are troubled by the world. A mithya world can never trouble you, but a satyam world will have all the troubles possible. So he says, Tatha swapne pasyati dharman tatra eva viparyasa. In the same way, during swapna also, the ajnani sees the unreal objects as though they are real because of pranti, because of error. So tatra means in that swapna avastha, bhutavat pashyati sees them as if they are real. When does he realize they are not real? When he wakes up. The waker knows that the dream objects were real. But does the dreamer know that? The dreamer, during the dream, he thinks that dream is real and therefore he suffers during the dream. When he wakes up, the suffering is gone. Similarly, samsara continues even in dream avastha. That's why we said that we exhaust some prarabdha karma in dream also. Because it is prarabdha karma which gives you pleasures and pain. In your dream also, you experience some pleasure and some pain. Therefore, dream also you exhaust some small portion of your prarabdha karma. So the word dharma here means the attributes of the mithya padartha, the mithya world. Tatra, in that dream state, you have to say that he sees it as if it is real. Bhutavat pashyat. Okay. Why is all this important? Remember that Vedantic knowledge entering the conscious mind is not a problem. Why do we say that Vedantic knowledge has to turn into Jnana Nishtha? Jnana Nishtha means that knowledge has to penetrate into your subconscious mind. What is the reason for insistence of that? When we say assimilation, it means the knowledge has to penetrate into your subconscious mind. That is because fear, anger, jealousy, all emotions, where do you find the root? In the subconscious mind. And therefore, just by having that Vedantic knowledge in the conscious mind, you may appreciate intellectually that I am Brahman. But unless that same knowledge permeates your subconscious mind, the emotions, the habitual thinking patterns, which are all born from that subconscious mind, that can never be addressed. And that is why Nidhi Dhyasanam is important. Shravanam Mananam will take care of the conscious mind. But to take care of the problems in the subconscious mind, Nidhi Dhyasanam has to take place. The same knowledge which you get during Shravanam, which is firmed up during Maranam, that knowledge has to be driven home into your subconscious mind. Then only you begin to get the benefits of jnana. Now we will go to Karika number 42. So we will read, we will chant. Upalambhat samachara
उपलम्भात्
उपलम्भात्
समाचारात्
समाचारात्
Sarat
asti vastuttvavadinam
अस्ति
Asti
वस्तुत्ववादिनाम्
वस्तुत्ववादिनाम्
asti vastuttvavadinam
अस्ति
Asti
अस्ति
वस्तुत्ववादिनाम्
Vadinam
वस्तुत्ववादिनाम्
jatistu deshita buddhaihi
जातिस्ते
जातिस्ते
Jatistu
शिता
Deshita
देशिता
बुद्धिः
Buddhi
बुद्धिः
ajate strasatam sada
अजाते
अजाते
Ajate
सतां
सतां सदा
सतां सदा
Satam Sada
ajate strasatam sada.
अजाते
अजाते
ते
सतां
सतां
सततं
सदा
सदा
Sada
Okay. So again, very, involved construction, very confused construction, you might say almost. But here to understand this, you have to recall all the verses which you know, which talk about the fact that only Brahman exists. So you can think of many verses. There are many, many mantras we have seen. One is Brahma Paschat, Brahma Dakshitat Shottarena, Dashodham Japrasutam, Brahmai Vedam, Vishwedam, Varishtham, Mandukya Upanishad. And the famous one from Bhagavad Gita, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivate Nagantavyam, Brahma Karma, Samadhina. What is the gist of all this? Everything is Brahman alone. But what is the problem with assimilation of this teaching? This is the Tatparyam of all the Vedas, of all the Smritis also. But to accept this, to be able to assimilate this, it requires a subtle, mature intellect. And therefore, if you ask a person, what do you think is real? And why do you say the universe is real, Jagat is real? There are three things. You may use different words, but we are using three words: experience, transaction, utility. The world can be experienced. Therefore, it is tangible. I can do transactions in the world because other people are there. Therefore, it is transactionally friendly. The world can be experienced. It is transactionally friendly. And because I can do transactions, I get some benefits. Therefore, the world has utility. Therefore, these people will say that experience is there in the world, transactions are there in the world, and utility is there in the world. How can you say the world is not real? Because when the world is real, then there are other people in this world. And with other people, I can have relationships. Relationships are possible only in Dvaitam. And therefore, normally, everybody considers Dvaitam as a very big blessing. What happens when you come to Advaitam? The first thing you are told is that Advaitam means there is nobody else. No relationship is possible. Therefore, Advaitam, I have nobody to talk to, I have nobody to claim as my own, and therefore I can have lots of insecurity. Because absence of relationships are considered to be a state of insecurity in this world. And that is the reason that whenever we teach, we don't start with Advaita. The entire scriptural teaching starts with Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda. And in the Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda part, Veda does not talk about Advaitam at all. It accepts Dvaitam. Talks about Jivatma, Paramatma, Bheda. He says there is a Ishvara, there is a Jiva, and there is Jagat. All three are different. Right? Because when Veda talks about Dvaitam, there is a creation also, there is a Ishvara also, and I have no problem. Therefore, in the early stages of the teaching, Vaitam is accepted. The world is accepted as the Karyam. Brahman is accepted as the Karanam. Many Jivatmas are accepted. I have all sort of relationships. But as I progress in my Vedantic study, what happens? Srishti becomes negated. I am told that there is neither a world nor there is a Ishvara. There is only you, and you are not Jiva. So Gaudapada says, Vastutva Vadinam Asti Upalambha Samachara. Right? Upalambhat means experienced. The world is experienced. Therefore, it is real. Asti. Vadinam, the people who talk about this world being real. Vastutva Vadinam. They talk about because of two things. Upalambhat, experience is there. And Samacharat means there is an order in the world. It functions under the control of certain laws. The world functions in an orderly manner. Samachara. And therefore I can have transactions and the world has utility for me. We talked about three things. Here he says Upalambat Samachara can be experienced. It functions in an orderly manner. Right? The Vedanta says what we tell that person, we never said that you cannot experience the world. We never said that you cannot transact in the world. We never said that your world cannot have utility for you. But we say what experience is not a proof for reality. Transactions are not a proof for reality. Utility is not a proof for reality. How do we know? Because dream is also experienced. You can transact in the dream also. In the dream also, the transactions have utility for you. Do you know the dream is not real? Therefore, remember always, Vedanta does not question the experience or transactions or utility in this Dvaita world. What we say, all these three are fine. All we are saying is the world is not Satya. Why do we say? Because of the law that from a real Karana, no product, unreal, real can be born. From Satyam Brahman, no Satya Jagat or Asatya Jagat can be born. But in the beginning stages, the Mandha Madhyama Adhikari, the beginning student, as well as the slightly advanced student, he finds it impossible to accept the fact that world is not born. And that is why you introduce Srishti Prakarana. If you remember Taitriya, Tasmadva etasmat atmanah akasha sambhabhuta akashad vayuhu vayor agnihi agner apaha adhyah prithvi prithviya oshadayah oshadayat annam annat purushaha. We saw all this in Taittiriya Upanishad, how Srishti is born. And then in many, many Upanishads as well as in the Gita itself, you see Devatas are also there. In Puranas and all that, Devatas are also there. So you can talk about several Devatas. You can talk about various levels of bhakti. You can have various relationships with the Lord. Lord can be your father, Lord can be your mother, Lord can be your friend, and so on. This is all the initial stages. But jati tu deshita budaihi. So the acharyas, they teach Srishti Prakaranam in the initial stage only. For whom Trasatam Sada Ajatehe. Trasatam means the one who is afraid. Sada Trasatam, one who is always afraid of what? Ajatehe, of Advaitam, Ajativadaha. Why is he afraid? Because you cannot have any relationships in Advaita. You cannot have transaction Advaita. You don't have an individuality in Advaita, right? And I heard people say that if I have no individuality, then I am not there. What is the point of Jivan Mukti or Videha Mukti when I am not there, right? So there is a very famous argument in Vishishta Advaita. The Vishishta Advaitan is telling the Advaita, pure Advaita. You say you want to become the Lord. But if I say that I like sugar, but I only want to taste it, I don't want to become sugar. But you are saying you want to become sugar. This is a famous argument that Vishishta Advaita uses to say that no, Advaitin, your idea is wrong. What will we say? We say, you say that loneliness is samsara, right? I say that I can be alone without being lonely, and that is mukti. You should learn to be alone because you are alone. Advaita tells you that there is nobody else. Only you, Atma, are there. Everything else is mithya. If you can accept that statement that I alone am there and not feel lonely, then that is Jivan Mukti. Remember that there are 3 points, 3 ways of viewing Ishvara. Nimitta Karanam, Abhinna Nimitta Parinami Upadana Karanam, and Vivarta Upadana Karanam. I hope you know the meanings. What does Nimitta Karanam mean? When you say Ishvara is Nimitta Karanam, what does it mean?
Intelligent cause.
Intelligent cause by way of not being what? Material cause. A carpenter is Nimitta Karanam for the chair, right? That is Nimitta Karanam. When you say Ishvara is Nimitta Karanam, you remember you are in Dvaita. Because there is a Nimitta Karanam and there is a Jagat, which is different from Nimitta Karanam. Because Nimitta Karanam is a carpenter, the chair is wood, and you are not saying Ishvara is wood, right? The carpenter is Nimitta Karanam, the chair is the Karyam. Therefore, you are Advaiti. But if you say Ishvara is Abhinna Nimitta Parinami Upadana Karanam, you are saying that Ishvara is that Upadana Karanam, which is also the Nimitta Karanam. What is the example? Where the Nimitta Karanam and the Parinami Upadana Karanam are the same.
Spider.
Spider in the web, right? When you say that, remember you are not Advaitin, you are Vishishta Advaitin. When you are Advaitin, what you will say is Ishvara Vivarta Upadana Karanam. What is Vivarta Upadana Karanam?
Unchanging
Unchanging cause.
entity.
Unchanging Upadana Karanam, which means it only seems to become the world. It doesn't actually become the world.
Seemingly.
Seemingly becoming the world. That is Upadana Karanam. That Vivarta Upadana Karanam is Advaitin's point of view. The other two are not. Okay. All very heavy. I hope you all are doing justice to the whole thing. Let us look at Karika number 43. Ajate strasatam tesham
Ajate
Ajate
satam
strasatam
tesham.
tesham.
ajate strasatam tesham
Ajate
Ajate
satam
strasatam
tesham.
tesham.
upalambhat viyanti ye
Upalambhat
Upalambhat
viyanti
viyanti
ye.
jati doshana setyanti
Jati doshana
Jatidoshan
setyanti.
Setyanti.
Jati doshana setyanti.
Jati doshana
Jatidoshat
setyanti.
Setyanti.
Doshopyalpo bhavishyati.
Doshopyalpo
Soyalpo
bhavishyati.
Bhavishyati.
Again, very, very complex sentence construction. So, look at the words. I'll try to give the sense of it. In short, it means for those who are afraid of Ajativada and therefore they don't accept the true teaching because their idea is based on experience of duality. For them, the dosha, the arising from the acceptance of creation will not give any benefit, and the dosha is not significant. So jati dosha, the disadvantages of accepting creation, na setyanti will not affect tesham trasatam, those who are afraid, ajate of the unborn, and ye viyanti, those who disagree with the idea of birthlessness. Why upalambha? Due to experience of the Jagat, dosha api bhavishyati alpaha. The disadvantage will be alpa. It's not much. So what is he saying? In this Gaudapada's Ajati Vada, Jagat, the universe, is presented as a adhyasa, appearance. And this idea that it's only an appearance cannot be accepted by the beginning student, because all the pramanams, pratyaksha pramanam, anumana pramanam, anubhava pramanam, all the pramanams, they show him that the world is real. Therefore, for the student, experience is there, transactions are there, utility is there. Now remember that for the junior student as well as the advanced student, these three are there: experience, transaction, utility. For the junior student, the world is real. For the advanced student, the world is adhyasa only. That is because initially your minds are soaked in Dvaitam. It is difficult to accept Advaitam. So he says, Ajate Prasatam Tesha. Those beginners who are afraid of Advaitam, Ye Viyanti. Viyanti means arguing against. Viruddham Yanti. They argue against the concept of Advaita because Upalambhat, they experience the world as duality. For such people, Veda says, okay, fine, accept creation temporarily. And therefore, Veda presents Brahman as a Karana. And Brahman is not a Karana. Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahman. But Veda presents for such people, for beginning students, Veda presents the creation as a real creation. Brahman is the Karanam, Jagat is the creation. Right? It is a compromise only. And he is saying here that any compromise will have a defect, dosha. And therefore, the teacher knows that this deliberate teaching of Dvaitam will certainly have some small defect for the student. What is the defect? When somebody tells you that Bhagavan is the Karana, and such a Bhagavan is presented as residing in, say, Vaikuntham or Kailasha, what happens? The student was initially attached to the world, but now he will get attached to this Ishvara, who is the Karana. What is the defect? Jivatma Paramatma Bheda Buddhi. The idea that I am different from Ishvara gets more and more strongly entrenched in the mind. And this is the defect. So here Gaudapada says it is okay. Instead of being attached to the world, be attached to Bhagavan. It is a defect, definitely, but it is a small defect because it's a necessary compromise for a immature student. And therefore, alpa doshaha pi bhavishyati. Acceptance of Srishtivada, the theory of creation, will have a disadvantage in the form of reinforcement of the idea of Dvaita. But there is a silver lining in this cloud. When through enough exposure to Dvaita, the student is ready, then Apavada is start. The teacher negates this Srishti. So let us, for example, recall Kaivalya Upanishad. If you recall the 15th mantra, Etasmat jayate pranaha manaha sarvendriyani cha kham vayurjyotirapaha prithvi vishwasya dharani. From that Brahman was born what? Pranaha, manaha, all the indriyas, space, vayu, jyoti, apaha, prithvi. All this was born from Brahman. This is what? Adhyasa, apavada.
Adhyasa.
Adhyasa. The same Upanishad. Later the mantra says what? Na punya pape mama nasti. Nashaha. Na janma dehendriya buddhirasti. Na bhumi rapo na vahannirasti. Na chanilomi asti. Na chambaramcha. Vada. First Srishti was introduced Adhyasa. And then Srishti was negated. So he says, Jatihi doshaha nasetyanti. This dosha, this defect of the uh, duality getting entrenched in the understanding of the student is not a real dosha. Setyanti will not taint the student because ultimately it is going to be negated in the apavada part of the teaching. And therefore, Srishti Vakyam should never be taken as final teaching. They are always used as tools for temporary teaching only. That you must remember. So because a lot of people will say, if everything is Advaitam, why does 90% of Veda talk about rituals? This is the reason. For the preparation of the mind, it is necessary to introduce Srishti. You cannot reach Brahman accepting through the product of Jagat. Jagat has to be handled. Without Anatma, you cannot come to Atma. So let us look at the last Karika for today. Karika number 44. Let us chant. Upalambhat samacharat
Upalambhat
Upalambhat
samacharan
samacharan
maya hastiyathocyate.
maya
maya
hastiyathocyate
striyathochit
Upalambhat samacharat
upalambhat
upalambhat
samacharan
samacharat
asti vastu tathochyate.
asti
asti
vastu
vastu
tathochyate.
tathochit.
So the same idea is continued. The world indeed has experience, transactions, and utility, but that does not make it Satyam. In spite of the fact that you can experience the world, in spite of the fact that you can transact in the world, in spite of the fact that the world can have utility for you, the world is still Mithya. And to explain this, an example is given. So in this example, Maya is not Maya per se, Brahman Maya. Maya here means magic, okay? Literal magic, magician's magic. So he says, Yatha Maya Hasti. Hasti is an elephant. Uchyate Upalambhat Samacharat. Upalambhat, the magical elephant is seen. And what it does in the show is experienced. And therefore, Yatha Maya Hasti Uchyate Upalamba Samachara. Because of experiencing the elephant and seeing his thing obeying the master, orderly behavior, the magical experience is said to be existing. Right? You say that elephant exists. Why? Because I am experiencing the elephant, I am seeing it, and I am seeing it obeying its master. Same two arguments, Upalamba, Samachara, experience and orderly behavior. Similarly, Vastu Asti Uchyate Upalamba Samachara. Because of the experience and orderliness of this world, Vastu here means the Jagrat Dvaita Prapancha. That Jagrat Dvaita Prapancha is said to be really existing. Because of what? Upalamba Samachara. So, if a magician can produce an object by the way of his magical wand, why cannot Ishvara produce this world with his own power? That is what is being said here. Any questions so far? No? So I am stopping here so that you can go back and do some more reading, think about it. Because as we enter the last portion of this, the last few, and quite a few are left still, 55 are left. You will find the idea is complex unless we have assimilated the beginning portion, we may not be able to understand. So I'll stop here. Thank you for your patience.
पूर्णमदः
Purnamidam Purnamudachyate
पूर्णमुदच्छते
Purnasya
पूर्णस्य
Purnamadaye
पूर्णमादाय
Purnamevasishyate Om
पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते
Shanti
ॐ
Shanti
शान्ति शान्ति
Shanti.
शान्तिः
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your
Om Namah Shivaya.
patience.
Thank you, Acharya
Om
ji.
Om
Thank
Om.
you, Acharya.